Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and well, I'm going to be looking at the KV-13, and well, at the moment I'm actually still trying to figure out what I'm going to call these videos, but at the moment I would imagine I've probably gone for something like Forgotten Gems or Hidden Gems, something like that anyway, and it's sort of going to be a bit of a mini-series, basically just sort of covering a few tanks from the tech tree that I think are sort of well, hidden gems or whatever, that you don't tend to see that many of on the battlefield, but in my opinion are not actually that bad, or they may have some pretty good features, and you know, some people would actually get on with them, but for whatever reason, maybe where they sit in the tech tree or whatever, you just don't tend to see that many of them. Now again, these are sort of personal opinions. People have differing opinions on what makes a decent tank, and some of you might watch this and think, well actually no, that's a pretty shit tank. But you know, it's just, like I say, these are sort of my opinions, and some of them might not be great tanks, but like I say, they might have some decent features. Now I've got two in mind already. One of them is obviously this, the KV-13, the other one is the Churchill gun carriage. So yeah, there will be a few of that, a few people thinking, sorry. But yeah, I did say that. Again, you know, it's got a couple of decent features, not the best tank, but it's sort of tucked away. Now, really, this one, and this is why you don't tend to see that many of them. I have seen a few, the odd one, and you do see the odd one recently, more so because I've been in the KV-13, and obviously it tries to match things with sort of, you know, all the matchmaking weights and all that sort of thing. Anyway, I'm not getting into that now, but it does try and match it up. So I've seen the odd one since I've been sort of going in it a bit, but really you don't tend to see them that often, the KV-13, or I don't anyway, and I do keep my eye out for them. And it sort of sits nestled away in a bit of an awkward position in the tech tree, and I think this is why a lot of people miss it, because it doesn't really go anywhere. It's sort of like a sidestep almost. I mean, if you're going to go to the IS, you are generally, you know, sort of if you go into the IS and up to the T10, the IS-7, etc., up to the top there, you're generally going to go through the T28, and then you're going to go KV-1, you know, KV-1S, KV-85, and straight up to the IS, you know, whereas this sticks out, the KV-13, on this bit of a dogleg here, so you can divert into the KV-13 from the KV-85 and then back down into the IS, but you know, everybody just goes, or nearly everybody goes straight from the KV-85 to the IS. Understandable. Same with up here as well. Again, it's a bit of an odd way. It doesn't lead into any other mediums, it just leads back into a heavy, but you can get to it from the T34-85 as well, so you can either go to the T43, which most people do, which then leads on to the T44. You know, like I say, it doesn't lead back into the mediums. Oh no, it does, sorry, yeah, it does. I'd missed that little arrow there. So it does lead back up into the mediums. So again, if you're going to go up to the T44, the T54, up to the Tier 10s, you're not generally going to go through the KV-85. You'll usually go through the mediums. And again, generally people go T34-85, T43, onto the T44. And they go that way, or they go through the light tanks, the LTTB, T54 lightweight. And again, don't really go to this one, and even if you did, it's a Tier 7 that leads back into another Tier 7, and in fact does lead into a Tier 7 this way as well, because the IS is a Tier 7. So it is a bit odd, and most people miss it out. And what it doesn't say here, which I found out recently from while I was reading this this tank book, sort of a good introductory book, and it doesn't mention it here at all. It does say that it's a prototype, but what it actually was, and let's just go back and have a look, because some of you might be thinking it looks kind of familiar. And it should do. It turns out that this, in real life, was actually a prototype for the IS tank. So it does make sense that it leads into the IS, and it does look a lot like a sort of a smaller IS. And in a way, that's kind of what it is. So don't forget, this is a medium tank. So let's have a quick look at the actual stats and everything else. Now, it is a bit of a slog to get through it. I will be the first to admit that, but if you stick with it, it can be quite rewarding. You get the same gun as you do on the T34-85, and in fact I think it's the same gun that's actually on the T43 as well, the other Tier 7 medium, the one that people generally go through. Let's have a look. The D5T85BM, and I think that's the same. Yes it is, yeah, so it is the same gun as you get on the T34-85, just like it is on the T43, so you do get on that on the KV-13. I think it is slightly lower rate of fire than on the T-43 though, but it does have some other benefits. But like I said before, it is a bit of a slog to get through it. And at the beginning you've only got 85mm of all-round turret armour, and you start off with a 76mm ZIS 5. But you should be able to put that one on it because of the other tanks that you'll have come through, so hopefully you will have unlocked the 76mm S54, and I think that's the only thing on there, so you may be able to just stick that one straight on it. But it's not great. It's a bit like well, it's very much like the M1A2 gun from the Shermans. But obviously it's at tier 7. And it's a bit of a sod. And you do start off with a smaller engine, but not by much, only by 100 horsepower. But once you get it fully upgraded, you can put the 122mm on it, derp gun howitzer, but I really wouldn't recommend it. When you get this first upgrade package up here, I think that's the new engine, the tracks, and the turret as well. And the 85mm D5T, I think you should have unlocked if you've been through the mediums. So that should be a bit cheaper, but this is the one that you really want, which is the top gun, the D5T 85BM. But once you do get this turret, you're working with a lot more armour. You're working with 100mm on the front and 90 on the sides and rear, so 5mm extra on the rear and sides, but a nice 15mm extra on the front, and it's fairly rounded, so it can be quite bouncy as well. But fully upgraded, 10.5 rounds a minute, slightly less than the T43. 144 pen, 180 damage, 194 on your premium, and then 44 300 on your HE, 2.3 second aiming time, 0.37 accuracy. So again, some kind of average figures there. Fairly decent hull traverse though, 40 degrees, and a decent turret traverse at 48 degrees as well. A bit of a poor view range, I would say, though, at 360. That is slightly, low, so you really do want to sort of do your skills to try and boost that as much as possible. With situational awareness, etc., and that sort of thing. And I've also got coated optics on mine as well. I mean, equipment wise, I've just, again, standard medium sort of thing, coated optics, gun rammer, gun lane drive. Skill wise, well, I've bought this back, so I've not really got a decent crew to chuck in it, but I've got Brothers in Arms, 6th Sense, going for repairs. I will be putting situational awareness on there as well, maybe smooth ride. But I really will have to have a think about the skills on this one, because it's not too bad. Possibly off-road driving as well. But yeah, smooth ride. The turret one snapshot, I think it is. Situational awareness, they're definitely going on there. And yeah, I mean, the main thing about the KV-13 is its armour, because it has a similar armour profile to the IS, the Tier 7 heavy tank. So it's 120mm on the front. Which is fantastic, again, especially, don't forget it's a medium tank, tier 7, and then you're looking at 85 on the side and rear, which again could be better, but it's not too savage at all. We'll have a quick look at the modules as well, and again, it's not an outstanding tank, but it's got some nice features, and I think it's a nice medium tank that a lot of people overlook. One of its main downsides, though, is its gun depression, which is, virtually non-existent. But anyway, you get a power to weight ratio of 16.87, which is, again, not the best, not the worst, but kind of average and nice for a tier 7 medium. Decent top speed, 50 km an hour, 20 in reverse, and a 15% chance of fire. A lot of engine components, though, and gas tanks and what have you, so preventative maintenance maybe might be sort of a good idea on here. Concealment, again, kind of average, 0.26 and 0.19, that's stationary and moving. And your hit points 1120, not bad at all. But it's the armor, like I say, that is the sort of defining feature, or the sort of special little thing about this, which I think sort of makes it. You do get 25 degrees of gun elevation, which is nice. So anything gets above you, that's not a problem. But the depression is poor at only -5. But again, people who've been through the Chinese tanks and don't mind them and know about your tank placement and where to place something like this with very little gun depression, I think they could have quite a bit of fun in this. Good terrain resistances, 0.9, 1 and 2, so they're pretty nice terrain resistances as well, so maybe not off-road driving, maybe it doesn't need that. Your view range, again, could do with a bit of love and care, but that's not too savage. Your radio is just down there, and then your ammo racks, one small one in the back of the turret and a main one down on the floor of the tank. So, I don't tend to get my ammo rack damaged very often in this, because of the placement of it. It is quite nice for that. Crewman, driver down in the middle of the hull, and then 3 up in the top, commander, gunner and loader. But the armour, this is what I'm on about, so when you get it fully upgraded, it's quite nice. Like I say, 120mm on the front of the hull, 100 on the front of the turret, but it is quite rounded, so you know it can be quite bouncy as well. 1 to 120 is your engine deck and your tracks. 21 to 30, hull floor, top of the turret as well. 31 to 50. Oh, small viewports just there, look. Driver's viewports. Where are we? 51 to 70, that's your lower hull sides and your sloped upper glacis, your rear glacis, and the machine gun ports on the rear of the turret. But then again, if you get around the rear of one of these, you basically, you know, you've sort of got your pick of where to shoot. So it's not so much looking for weak spots on the back of a tank. But then again, you know, you want to try not to show the back of your tank to anybody, apart from allies. 71 to 90, the lower glacis at the rear and the upper tank sides. And don't forget, below that, where it is a bit thinner, you've got to get through the tracks as well. So that does add to it. But the upper sides, they fall into that bracket, which is obviously your 85. And then the sides and the rear of the turret and the commander's hatch are all 90mm. As well as a small patch just above the gun mantle. Well, it is almost mantleless. And little bits of armour just inside there as well. And then your 91 to 120, well, it's 100 on the front of the turret, which is almost all over. Your lower glacis is 120mm, just flat 120, but it is kind of flat, so you want to try and hide that as much as possible, or angle it slightly. And then you've got that strip across the front there where your driver's hatch is, and those angled sort of hull front where it angles back towards the side. So you can kind of angle this, and it almost gives that bit a bit of a pike nose. But that is the main part, that and your commander's hatch, where you're likely to get penned if you hide in your lower glacis, and that's simply because it is a bit flatter, just like it is on the standard IS. But again, anybody who does well in the IS could possibly do well in this, because it is kind of, well, it's kind of like a medium version of it, obviously with just a smaller gun and a bit quicker. But it is quite nicely armoured overall, and like I say, that upper glacis, not only is it, you know, it's fairly thick as well at, you know, 51 to 70. It's not too savage. Well, I say fairly thick. Yeah, it's not the greatest, but it has got a very nice slope to it. So you know, it does increase that. It does increase the effective thickness quite a lot. But yeah, that's basically why I think this is sort of a little hidden gem, and it's its armour. And its armour can take quite a bit of punishment. Obviously, you don't want to get too close to anything. There's quite a lot of stuff at tier 7 that can punch straight through, as IS drivers can attest. But if you angle it properly, or side scrape, or, you know, keep it the sort of relevant distance, this can be quite a bouncy little tank. So yeah, there you go. This is basically what the series is about, just sort of highlighting these tanks that I think sort of a lot of people miss, and I think you know, can be quite good fun, or like I said earlier on, have a couple of decent features or something like that. So here you are, the KV-13, and yeah, I think this is a bit of a hidden gem basically because of its armour, and coupled with the fact that its mobility isn't too bad either, can be quite a nice little medium tank. But anyway, let's get into the replays and see how it actually handles. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays. It's a tier 8 match, but there's only 3 on each team, so it's not too bad matchmaking. And I do realise that this has sort of ended up a bit like a review, but it's more just to highlight this tank, really. I know there's going to be, you know, people that really don't get on with this because of the gun depression, or because of the gun or whatever. But I think that there's going to be people that have not been through this tank yet that sort of look at it and think, actually, you know, that does look like quite good fun. I think I'll give it a try. And you know, I quite like it, like I say. And if there's anybody can think of any other sort of tanks that get overlooked or you don't see very often, that sort of thing. So obviously, if you don't see them very often, they are kind of getting overlooked a bit. Leave it in the comments and let me know, and I shall pick one up if I haven't got one already, and sort of do a little video highlighting that as well. Like I say, I've got the gun carriage, Churchill gun carriage in mind for one, and again, that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and there's people out there that'll probably think it's quite, you know, quite a poor tank, but you know, it's not too bad. It's got about 152 mil of armour on the front, I think. I know it's very flat, but at range, sort of when you're top tier, that can be quite a hefty chunk of armour to get through for some, you know, some of the other tanks that it'll come up against. And, you know, like I say, it's not got a bad gun on it, I suppose. Now, just working on, well, me and the TD worked over that Steyr Emil that came over. I think the TD tracked him. Now there's a Tiger 2 down there, but he's got the stock turret, so no, it's not going to go through. That one will. Well, hopefully will anyway. But yeah, with the stock turret on the Tiger 2, you know, the one that's rounded with the commander's hatch that sticks out on the side, the front of it is actually quite weak, so a lot of the time you can go straight through the front of the turret, just aim for the sort of apex of the curve, right next to the gun, either side, and a lot of the time you'll go straight through. I know I'm not at the moment. If I did switch to premium ammo, it would reliably go through there, but I'm quite happy with how it is at the moment. In fact, that's the first bit of damage I've taken, really. And again, you know, this isn't an outstanding damage game or anything like that. It's just to sort of showcase it a little bit. I did actually try something a bit different, or was going to try something a bit different. I went into the co-op mode because that's been, well, it's had the earnings sorted out now. And just to sort of, you know, prat about in there a little bit, and just had to clear my throat there. Yeah, just prat about in there a little bit, and it, you know, I was hoping that it would sort of show off what the armour can and can't sort of block, and you know what it can do, but I don't know if it really worked or not, so I think I'll look at that again, maybe maybe for the gun carriage, see if it works a bit better for that one, I don't know, but it's sort of more of a controlled environment. But on the map at the moment, the enemy team have won the hill and pushed over. The TD had turned around and gone back, and this Tiger 2, as you can see, had turned around to deal with the friendlies that were encroaching on his cap, but it's just allowed me to go straight up behind him and just sit locked onto him, and boom, 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 and he's done for. But it's, like I say, not a bad medium. You know, you've got to be careful against some of the tier 8s. Well, most of the tier 8s, I would say. You know, keep it sort of range, but it's not bad. Like I say, you know, you can bounce a few shots off your armour, but it's I think it's quite a nice tier 7 medium tank. And derp. Yeah, didn't notice the IS-3, who gave me a bit of a slap and damaged my engine. That is a slight downside to it, is the engine damage. Such a large sort of engine block plus multiple components all over the place. It does get damaged quite a bit, and in fact mine has again, and I tried to handbrake into there to just get into a bit of cover to see what I could do against him, but it just wasn't happening. But hopefully we should be able to cap out and pull this back. You know, I don't know, we've got the lead on tanks. There goes another one, it's now 4 tanks. I don't think I'm going to survive this. Nope. There we go, I'm done for, but we have capped out for the win anyway. But like I say, you know, nothing extravagant with the matches, but just give you a bit of an idea of what it's like, really. I think if I had a bit more room and not a damaged engine, I probably could have handled that a bit better and maybe brawled with him a little bit, but not too savage. It got me 5 points anyway, so you know, can't really grumble and top of the table. But it's, like I say, you know, I kind of like it. It does have its downsides, but, you know, there's not many tanks that don't. Now the next one, and, well, the next one really is just to kind of show you how much fun it can be when you are top tier and you do have really favourable matchmaking like I've got here, with about, what's that, 4 tier 7s on each team, and yeah, it can be quite fun in this sort of situation. And in fact, I am having quite a fun game and quite a, you know, an alright game, sort of decent game, up until, well, I get brutalised by a hammer and an OI. Not much fun. Yeah, but a double teaming. But I was going to head up to the top, you know, sort of top of the falls, but then it looked like there's quite a few tanks going up that way. The other way seems to be alright as well, so I decided to pull up here. And spotted a lonely T1. Well, not a I don't know if he's lonely, he might have friends with him, but he's the one that I've seen. Now, roughly there, I would have said. He was backing up at a steady pace. Not great view range on this, don't forget. I've been spotted. Pull back a bit. Can I just get the last one on him? Took a bounce, but I've taken a hit from something. Was it? Well, I don't know what it was. But I took a hit from something across that way, so I pulled back. And where I am, that tier 5, I mean, it is kind of just bullying stuff when you sort of get this kind of matchmaking in this. Got an M6 across the valley now. Well, that tier 5 was just bouncing harmlessly. And he's backing up slightly. Yeah, managed to get him, that was nice. And, you know, these were all, like I say, this was very favourable matchmaking. A lot of low tier stuff in here, so I'm not saying that this took, you know, any great amount of skill or anything. But I'm just showing you how much fun you can have in this, you know, in these sort of circumstances when you are top tier. And it's one of those matches where you've got a nice spread of tiers. And now I'm just going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to try and land on that AMX. And, oh, he's moving, can I intercept? And, nope, he stopped. And just missed him. And, donk. Completely missed that shot as well. And he's either reloading or he's trying to get to a position where he can actually turn around and come back at me. That's the only problem with the LC, is the fact that, well, it's not really got a turret as such. It's got a very small firing arc at the front, and yeah, I did completely miss that last shot, and gonna miss this one as well, because I thought he was going to carry on a bit further than he did. I've got a few people shooting at me as well, but now, that was a lucky shot, managed to track him, and I think I'll do this execution style. There we go. Now, it's not looking too bad. We seem to be winning over the falls as well. I don't know if those guys up there just to my sort of back and right can hit anything across the valley, I'm not sure. Found another T1 heavy, in fact I get some assisted for that one and managed to finish him off. And I think I'll head up this way and see what's what. Oh, there's the hammer. There's the OI. We'll see more of them in a bit. But yeah, I don't know. I think this can be quite sort of quite a capable and competent medium tank. And you know, it's got decent top speed. Its power to weight ratio is not too savage. You know, its gun can work in most of the things it come up again. You know, there's a few of the tier 9s that you maybe struggle with slightly, probably have to get around the flanks, but then again, you know, what tier 7 mediums don't have to do that, you know, against some of the tier 9s. But it's just got that nice armour that just gives you that little bit of an edge over some of the other tier 7 mediums. And even though you've only got 100 on your turret, you know, it's still got that rounded sort of front to it, you know, like the T-34-85 has, I think it is, yeah, it is. And, you know, anybody who's been in that knows that that sort of turret front can be a little bit bouncy, especially if you keep it moving and keep wriggling about a bit. Now, I thought I'd gone blind here before. I did wonder if they'd actually popped up on the map, and I just didn't see them. I'd been spotted. Wasn't sure what by, and yeah, that's when I noticed the hammer on my side. Dead driver, back into a wreck. Yep, get tracked. I was hoping to get behind the buildings to get out of the way of the OI. Went to track him, that didn't work either. He just got a bit too close for my gun depression. And yeah, I'm not going to get out of this. Fix my tracks as a bit of a last ditch attempt to try and save myself, but no. Yeah, I'm done. There you go. Like I said before, brutalised by a hammer and an OI. But we did go on to win that one because we'd got a lot of tanks left at the end there. Again, nothing too brilliant on the damage, only 2,000. But I did get a top gun, but that's because it was sort of lower tier stuff, which obviously doesn't have as much health. But there you go, KV-13. What I think is a bit of a sort of hidden and quite often overlooked fun little tank in the Russian tank line. It's just that it's sort of sat in a very odd position. But there you go. Hope you've enjoyed that episode. Well, that video anyway. I'll probably do another one in a couple of weeks, something like that. But yeah, there you go. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. So until then, take care out there and I'll catch you next time. See you later.